The arrival of the hunters. In the vastness of space, the Krieg warship moved silently toward Earth. The ship was enormous, shaped like a dark, sharp blade cutting through the stars. Inside, the Krieg warriors prepared for their mission. They were known across the galaxy as the most skilled hunters, feared for their strength and advanced technology. The leader of the Krieg, Zarnak, stood at the command center, looking out at the blue planet ahead. Zarnak was tall and powerful, with bright red skin and piercing yellow eyes. He had fought many battles and claimed countless trophies from defeated enemies. He believed the humans would be an easy target. "Prepare for landing," he commanded, his voice deep and confident. His warriors moved swiftly, checking their weapons and gear, eager to hunt. As the ship descended through the atmosphere, a soft rumble filled the air. Below, people went about their daily lives, unaware of the danger approaching. The Krieg ship landed in a secluded forest, far from any cities. Trees surrounded them, tall and green, creating a perfect cover. Zarnak stepped out, his warriors following closely behind. "Look at this place," he said, grinning. "So primitive, so weak. We will take many trophies from these humans." The Krieg warriors cheered, their excitement filling the air. They felt invincible, ready to prove their skills. Meanwhile, back on Earth, news of strange lights in the sky spread quickly. Captain Sarah, a strong and brave leader in the military, received a report about the unidentified flying object. "Gather the team," she ordered. "We need to investigate." Her team, consisting of soldiers and scientists, rushed to prepare. They understood the seriousness of the situation. As they arrived at the landing site, Sarah looked around. "Everyone, stay alert," she instructed. The forest was eerily quiet, and the tension in the air was thick. Suddenly, they spotted the Krieg warriors moving through the trees, their bright colors standing out against the green. "Contact," one of the soldiers shouted, pointing his weapon. But Sarah held up her hand. "Wait, we need to assess the situation first. We don't know what we are dealing with." The Krieg warriors began to set up their camp, laughing and boasting about their hunting skills. Zarnak called out to his team, "Tonight, we will find our first prey. We will show them the might of the Krieg." They were filled with confidence, thinking that their advanced technology and strength would easily overcome the humans. In the darkening forest, Sarah and her team made a plan. "We need to gather intelligence on these aliens," she said. "They seem to be strong, but we cannot let them catch us off guard." The team split into small groups to gather information, each determined to protect their home. As night fell, the Krieg warriors prepared for their first hunt. They activated their scanning devices, which glowed with blue light, searching for any signs of life. "They will not escape us," Zarnak declared. "We will show them what true power is." But Sarah and her team were ready. They had set traps and positioned themselves in strategic locations. The humans knew their territory better than the aliens. They moved quietly, hiding in the shadows, watching the Krieg with determination. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the forest. One of the Krieg warriors had stepped on a hidden trap. A net flew up, catching him and pulling him off the ground. "What is this?" he shouted, struggling to escape. The other Krieg turned in surprise, their confidence shaken. "Fire," Zarnak commanded, realizing that they were not alone. The Krieg warriors opened fire, but the humans had already scattered, using the trees for cover. The air was filled with the sounds of gunfire and chaos. Sarah led her team to safety, feeling the adrenaline rush through her veins. "Stay calm. We need to regroup," she shouted over the noise. The humans quickly moved to a nearby hiding spot, their hearts racing. They knew they were up against a powerful enemy, but they refused to back down. As the Krieg struggled to understand what was happening, Sarah and her team exchanged glances. They had prepared for this moment, and now it was time to fight back. "We will not let them take our planet," Sarah said firmly. "We are stronger together." The Krieg warriors, realizing they were in a challenging situation, began to question their leader. Perhaps we underestimated them. One warrior said to Zarnok, "These humans are not as weak as we thought." But Zarnok dismissed their concerns, determined to prove his strength. As the night deepened, the battle between the humans and the Krieg escalated. Both sides were determined to claim victory. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and neither the hunters nor the hunted knew what the next day would bring. The first clash. The forest was alive with tension as night cloaked the land. The sounds of the Krieg warriors echoed through the trees, their footsteps heavy and assured. Zarnok led his team deeper into the woods, determined to find and capture a human. They felt invincible, but a shadow of doubt flickered in the back of Zarnok's mind. He dismissed it. He had never lost a hunt before. Meanwhile, Sarah and her team were regrouping. They had experienced the surprise of the Krieg's arrival firsthand, and now they were ready to fight back. "We have to be strategic," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the fear bubbling inside her. "Let's use the terrain to our advantage. We know these woods better than they do." The team quickly formed a plan. They decided to set traps in various locations, using the Krieg's own technology against them. Sarah led a group to set up makeshift barricades while another team monitored the Krieg's movements from a distance. They used night vision goggles to keep an eye on their enemies, aware that each moment counted. In the dark, the Krieg warriors continued their search, their scanners glowing ominously. "We will find them," Zarnok said confidently. "They may think they can hide, but we are the greatest hunters in the galaxy." His words, however, felt hollow as the night wore on without any sign of humans. Suddenly, one of the Krieg warriors spotted a movement in the shadows. "Over there," he shouted, pointing into the dense trees. The Krieg turned their weapons toward the direction of the sound, excitement filling the air. They approached slowly, ready to pounce on their prey. But what they didn't know was that Sarah's team had anticipated this moment. The humans were hidden behind thick bushes, silent as ghosts. The tension grew as the Krieg warriors moved closer, their eyes scanning for any sign of life. "Now," Sarah whispered urgently to her team. They sprang into action, launching their traps and barricades. The Krieg were caught off guard, stumbling as nets fell from the trees, entangling some of them. The humans emerged from their hiding spots, shouting and firing their weapons. "Get them!" Zarnok roared, his fury igniting as he fought against the net that held him. The Krieg quickly regrouped, returning fire with their advanced weaponry. Bright beams of light cut through the darkness, illuminating the forest as chaos erupted. The battle was fierce. Humans ducked behind trees, firing back with determination. Sarah's heart raced as she dodged a beam of energy, narrowly avoiding a hit. She could feel the weight of her team's hopes resting on her shoulders. "Stay focused," she yelled. "We can do this." As the fighting intensified, the Krieg began to adapt. Zarnok, furious and humiliated, quickly realized that underestimating humans was a mistake. "We cannot let them defeat us," he shouted to his warriors. "Use the terrain. Find cover." The Krieg warriors began to use the trees to their advantage, moving swiftly and strategically. They unleashed their weapons with renewed ferocity, aiming to take down the humans who dared to challenge them. Zarnok pushed forward, determined to catch the humans off guard. But Sarah and her team were not backing down. They worked together, communicating silently, executing their plan with precision. One soldier, Alex, spotted Zarnok pushing through the trees. "That's their leader," he whispered, readying his weapon. "If we can take him out, we might stand a chance." Sarah nodded, her eyes narrowing. "Let's do it. On my mark." The humans moved quietly, positioning themselves to flank Zarnok and his warriors. They were well trained, ready to strike when the moment was right. As the clash continued, both sides suffered losses. The Krieg warriors were strong, but the humans' resourcefulness and knowledge of their territory gave them an edge. Zarnok felt the pressure mounting, the thrill of the hunt turning into a struggle for survival. In a moment of chaos, Sarah spotted her opportunity. "Now," she shouted, leading her team in a charge toward Zarnuk. They rushed forward, weapons raised, aiming for the Krieg leader. Zarnuk turned, surprised by the sudden onslaught. He barely had time to react. A beam of energy grazed his arm, causing him to stumble back. "Fools!" he bellowed, infuriated. "You think you can defeat the Krieg?" He raised his weapon, ready to retaliate. But the humans were relentless, working together to keep him at bay. The forest was alive with the sounds of battle, the night filled with flashes of light and the shouts of warriors. Both sides fought fiercely, but the humans were fueled by a fierce determination to protect their home. Zarnuk realized that they were not just fighting for sport, they were fighting for their lives. As the battle raged on, it became clear that this was just the beginning. The hunters had come to Earth, but they had awakened a fierce spirit within humanity. The line between hunter and prey was blurring, and the Krieg would soon learn that they were not the apex predators they believed themselves to be. With each passing moment, the stakes grew higher. The Krieg had come to hunt, but they would soon find themselves hunted in a way they had never imagined. The humans were ready to fight, and the real battle for Earth had only just begun. The turning tide. As the clash between the humans and the Krieg warriors continued, the forest transformed into a chaotic battlefield. The night air was filled with shouts, the crackle of energy beams, and the sounds of struggle. Sarah and her team pushed forward, their adrenaline surging with each moment. They were fighting not just for their survival, but for their home. In the midst of the turmoil, Sarah spotted Alex, who had taken cover behind a large tree. His face was set with determination as he prepared to take another shot at Zarnuk. "I can get him," he yelled over the noise, his eyes focused on the Krieg leader, who was trying to rally his scattered forces. "Do it," Sarah shouted back. "We need to take him down." Just as Alex aimed, a Krieg warrior flanked him, their weapon raised. Sarah's instincts kicked in. Without thinking, she darted toward her teammate, tackling him out of the way as a beam of energy sliced through the air where he had just been. They rolled behind the tree together, heartbeats racing. "Thanks, Sarah." Alex gasped, slightly shaken but still focused. "We can't let him regroup. Let's push forward." The humans worked as a team, using the trees as shields and the darkness as cover. They advanced, taking calculated shots at the Krieg warriors, who were becoming more desperate as their numbers dwindled. Zarnuk, furious and determined, realized he needed to change his strategy. "Regroup. Use the shadows," he shouted to his remaining warriors. The Krieg began to move more cautiously, blending into the darkness of the forest. Zarnuk was no longer just a leader. He was now a cornered beast, ready to fight with everything he had. Meanwhile, Sarah's group had taken a moment to catch their breath. "What's the plan?" asked Mia, another member of the team. Her eyes were wide with excitement and fear. Sarah looked around at her team, their faces showing a mix of determination and fatigue. "We have to split up. If we can confuse them and create diversions, we might have a chance to take Zarnuk out." "Let's do it," Alex agreed, gripping his weapon tighter. "We'll keep them guessing." As they split into smaller groups, the humans began to move stealthily through the woods. Each team had a different mission, one to create noise and distractions, another to flank the Krieg, and Sarah's group aimed to get closer to Zarnuk. The plan was risky, but it was their only hope. Sarah's heart raced as she crept through the underbrush, her senses heightened. She knew the forest well. Each rustle and whisper was familiar. She led her team toward Zarnuk's last known position, moving slowly to avoid detection. Meanwhile, Zarnuk and his warriors were struggling to regain control. "They're using the forest against us," one of the Krieg warriors shouted, panic creeping into his voice. "We're outnumbered." Zarnuk, infuriated, growled, "We are Krieg. We do not back down. Find them." Just then, a loud crash echoed through the trees. A diversion team, led by Mia, had thrown a pile of branches and logs onto a nearby clearing, creating a distraction. The Krieg warriors turned, drawn to the noise, leaving Zarnok vulnerable. "Now," Sarah whispered urgently, signaling to her team. They moved quickly, darting through the shadows toward Zarnok. As they approached, Sarah could see the Krieg leader from a distance, his frustration boiling over. "Fools, you cannot escape your fate," he shouted, his weapon raised as he aimed for the sound of the distraction. The humans were closing in. Sarah took a deep breath, focusing on the mission. They had to act fast. "On 3, she whispered to her team, counting down in her mind. 1, 2, 3. They surged forward, catching Zarnok off guard. He turned, but it was too late. Sarah and her team unleashed their weapons, aiming straight for him. The energy beams lit up the dark forest, illuminating Zarnok's fierce face. "Human scum," he roared, firing back. But the humans had the advantage of surprise. They scattered, firing from different angles, keeping Zarnok disoriented. Suddenly, a shot from Alex struck Zarnok's arm, causing him to drop his weapon. "Now's our chance," he yelled, pushing forward with Sarah and Mia. Zarnok stumbled back, rage flooding his features. "You think you can defeat me? I am the hunter," he screamed, trying to regain his composure. But he was outnumbered and wounded, and the humans pressed their advantage. With a final coordinated effort, Sarah shouted, "Let's end this." They surrounded Zarnok, their weapons trained on him. The Krieg leader, once so confident, now stood at the mercy of his prey. As the tension hung in the air, Zarnok realized he had underestimated these humans. "You may have caught me," he spat defiantly, "but this is not over. The Krieg will return." "Maybe," Sarah replied, her voice steady, "but you will not be hunting on Earth again." With that, the humans pressed forward, and Zarnok was finally overpowered. As they secured him, the remaining Krieg warriors, seeing their leader fall, began to retreat into the shadows, abandoning the hunt. The tide had turned. The hunters had become the hunted, and for the first time, the humans felt a surge of hope. They had fought bravely, and together, they had claimed victory, but Sarah knew that this was just the beginning. The battle for their home was far from over, and they needed to be ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The aftermath. The battle had ended, but the forest was still filled with the echoes of chaos. As the dust settled, Sarah and her team took a moment to catch their breath. They stood in a clearing surrounded by fallen leaves and debris, their hearts racing from the fight. The adrenaline was still coursing through their veins, but there was a sense of relief washing over them. Zarnok lay on the ground, bound and defeated. His fierce demeanor had faded, replaced by a look of rage and disbelief. Sarah felt a mixture of triumph and caution as she approached him. She had seen the strength of the Krieg warriors, and even in defeat, Zarnok was dangerous. "Why did you come here?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. Zarnok glared at her, his expression filled with disdain. "You humans are weak," he spat. "You think you can fight against the Krieg. This was just a taste of what is to come. We will return, and next time, you will not be so lucky." Sarah took a deep breath, holding her ground. "We're not afraid of you. We will be ready," she replied, her resolve unwavering. As the rest of the team gathered around, they began to check on one another, ensuring everyone was safe. Mia was tending to a small cut on her arm, while Alex was reviewing their gear, assessing any damage. "We did it," Mia exclaimed, a grin spreading across her face. "I can't believe we actually took him down." "It was a team effort," Sarah said, looking around at her friends. "We fought together, and we won together." But even in their victory, Sarah felt a lingering unease. Zarnok's words echoed in her mind. What did he mean about the Krieg returning? They had survived this encounter, but was it truly over? As they prepared to leave the forest, Sarah decided to keep Zarnok as their prisoner. They needed information about the Krieg and their plans. She knew they couldn't just release him. It was too dangerous. "Let's get him back to the base," she ordered, motioning for the team to help carry the bound Krieg leader. "We'll question him and find out what he knows." The journey back was tense. Zarnak's presence was a constant reminder of the threat they faced. He struggled against his bindings, but Sarah's team held firm. The dark forest that had once felt so familiar now seemed filled with shadows, as if it was harboring secrets yet to be revealed. As they approached the edge of the woods, they spotted the base in the distance. It was a small compound, fortified with makeshift barriers and watchtowers. Inside, the team had been working hard to create a safe haven from the Kree threats. When they entered, they were met with a mix of cheers and curious stares. The news of their victory had spread quickly, and the others gathered to hear about the battle. Sarah felt proud but also wary. They had won today, but the war was not over. "Everyone, listen up," Sarah called out, raising her voice to get the attention of the crowd. "We captured Zarnak, the Krieg leader. He's going to be interrogated for information about their plans." The crowd murmured, their expressions a mix of excitement and concern. "Is he really dangerous?" one of the younger members asked, fear evident in their eyes. "Very," Sarah replied honestly. "But we can't show weakness. We have to find out what we're up against." As the team began to secure Zarnak in a makeshift holding area, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She knew that every decision they made could impact the survival of their people. Later, as night fell, Sarah sat in the command room with Alex, preparing for the interrogation. "What do you think he'll tell us?" Alex asked, leaning back in his chair. "I'm not sure," Sarah admitted, running a hand through her hair. "He might be stubborn, but if we press the right buttons, we can get him to talk." They set up a simple table with a light overhead, creating an atmosphere that felt both intense and necessary. Zarnak was brought in, still defiant, his eyes burning with anger. "You think you can break me?" he sneered, sitting across from Sarah. "You humans are pathetic." "We'll see about that," Sarah replied coolly. "You're going to tell us everything you know about the Krieg and their plans. It's in your best interest." Zarnak laughed, a harsh sound that filled the room. "You think I fear you. I will never betray my kind." Sarah leaned in closer, determined. "You may not fear me, but you will fear what we can do if you don't cooperate." She and Alex exchanged glances, both aware that the next moments could change everything for their people. Sarah took a deep breath and prepared to play the game of intimidation, knowing that the fate of Earth might depend on the outcome of this interrogation. The battle for survival was not over. It had just begun, and Sarah was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The interrogation. The room was dimly lit, the atmosphere thick with tension as Sarah and Alex faced Zarnak, the defeated Krieg leader. His arrogance remained intact, but Sarah knew that even the strongest warriors could crack under pressure. She had to be strategic about how to get the information they needed. "Let's get started," Sarah said firmly, leaning forward to engage Zarnak directly. "We want to know about your plans. Why did you come to Earth? What are the Krieg after?" Zarnak's lips curled into a contemptuous smile. "You think I will tell you anything? You will regret this. My people will not forget the humiliation you have brought upon us." Sarah maintained her composure. "You are here now, and you are vulnerable. I suggest you reconsider your position. Every moment you refuse to cooperate puts you closer to your end." He scoffed at her words. "You think you can scare me? I am a Krieg warrior. I fear nothing." But Sarah had dealt with tough situations before. She glanced at Alex, who nodded, understanding her plan. "Let's raise the stakes," Sarah said, taking a deep breath. "If you don't tell us what we want to know, we will make your captivity uncomfortable. We have methods." Zarnak's expression changed slightly, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. Sarah noted it. It was a crack, and she would exploit it. "Why not start with your people?" Sarah continued. How many ships do they have? What weapons are they bringing? If you cooperate, perhaps we can spare your life." He hesitated, weighing his options. "I will not betray my comrades," he replied, but there was a slight quiver in his voice that Sarah recognized. "Perhaps you need a little motivation," Alex interjected, stepping closer to the table. He pulled out a small device, one that emitted a low humming sound. "This is a simple tool but very effective. It can create discomfort, but we won't use it, unless you force our hand." Zarnok's bravado was waning. The flicker of fear in his eyes was unmistakable now. He glanced between Sarah and Alex, realizing they meant business. "Enough of this," he shouted, attempting to regain control. "I will not be intimidated by you, puny humans." But Sarah pressed on. "We're not intimidated. We are prepared. What do you think will happen when your people realize you failed? They won't come for you. They'll abandon you." The truth in her words struck a chord. Zarnok's expression shifted, revealing a hint of uncertainty. She sensed the moment had come. "Fine." He finally spat, his voice laced with anger. "I will tell you what you want to know. But know this, I do so because I want to see your faces when the Krieg destroy you." "Start talking," Sarah urged, keeping her tone steady and firm. "How many ships are on their way?" Zarnok took a deep breath, seemingly weighing the importance of his next words. "There are 3 ships en route to Earth. They are equipped with advanced weaponry and a crew of elite soldiers. They plan to attack within the month." Sarah's heart raced at the revelation. This was critical information. "And what are their objectives?" She pressed further. "They seek to reclaim their honor. The Krieg believe they have been humiliated by your victory here today. They want revenge." Zarnok sneered, enjoying the thought of his people's impending attack. "Revenge? For what?" Alex asked incredulously. "You came here to hunt us." "Exactly. And you foolishly stood in our way," Zarnok shot back. "You may have won this battle, but the war is far from over. You will all pay for your insolence." Sarah felt a surge of determination. "We won't let that happen. We'll be ready for them. You may think you have the upper hand, but we're not backing down." Zarnok leaned back, a smug look creeping across his face. "Good luck with that. Your technology is inferior. Your forces are weak. You may have survived this encounter, but it will not last. Let's see if you still think that when your ships arrive," Sarah retorted, undeterred by his arrogance. She stood up, signaling to Alex to follow her. "We'll need to inform the others. This changes everything. We must prepare for their attack immediately." As they left the interrogation room, Sarah felt a weight lift off her shoulders. They had gained valuable intelligence, but the reality of the situation was still daunting. 3 Krieg ships were on their way, and they had to act quickly. "Do you think he's telling the truth?" Alex asked as they walked through the corridors of their base. "He's Krieg," Sarah replied, determination in her eyes. "They thrive on battle. He may twist the truth, but the threat is real. We need to fortify our defenses and gather as many allies as we can." The urgency of the moment pushed them to gather the rest of the team. They needed to create a solid plan to confront the impending threat. Sarah called for a meeting in the main hall, where everyone could share their thoughts and strategize. As the team assembled, Sarah could see the determination in their eyes. The fear of the Krieg was palpable, but so was the spirit of resilience. They had already overcome so much, and now they had to prepare for the ultimate challenge. "We've learned about the Krieg ships," Sarah began, her voice strong. "They're on their way, and we need to act fast. We will not be caught off guard." The team nodded, a sense of unity building among them. They were ready to fight for their survival. The battle for Earth had just begun, and together, they would face whatever came their way. The clash of titans. The air buzzed with tension as Sarah and her team stood poised for battle. Their hearts raced, and adrenaline surged through their veins. The sky was darkening, not just from the setting sun, but from the approaching Krieg ships. Massive shadows blotted out the stars as the alien vessels descended upon Earth, ready to unleash chaos. "Here they come," Jack shouted, pointing to the horizon where a fleet of Krieg warships appeared, cutting through the clouds like dark daggers. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the sound of engines roared, a deafening reminder of the battle that lay ahead. "Positions," Sarah ordered, her voice cutting through the fear. "Everyone, to your stations. Remember the plan." The team scrambled to their designated spots. Maya was at the control console, fingers flying across the touchscreen as she activated their automated defenses. A series of energy barriers flickered to life around their makeshift base, illuminating the night with a blue hue. "Defense systems are online," Maya called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. "They won't breach our outer perimeter easily." Alex moved to the communications station, ready to coordinate their allies. "I'll keep everyone updated on the situation. If things go south, we'll need backup." He knew the importance of quick communication. Every second could mean the difference between life and death. Jack was at the front lines, armed with a powerful energy rifle. He gripped it tightly, eyes narrowed as he scanned the sky. "Let's show them what Earth is made of," he muttered to himself, a determined fire burning within him. As the first Krieg ship broke through the clouds, it opened fire. Bright green blasts lit up the night, and explosions erupted around them. Sarah dove for cover, her heart pounding. The ground shook, and debris flew everywhere. "Return fire," she shouted. "Hold your ground." Their weapons roared to life, returning fire against the Krieg forces. Energy blasts shot through the air, illuminating the darkening landscape. Sarah felt a surge of pride as she saw her team working together seamlessly. They had trained hard for this moment, and now it was time to prove their worth. Maya's voice crackled over the comms. "I've got their coordinates. Firing automated defenses now." Suddenly, the ground erupted as explosive traps detonated, sending debris flying into the air. Krieg ships spun and crashed, some spiraling out of control while others continued their relentless assault. The battlefield was chaos. Fire and smoke filled the air, and the sound of weapons clashing was deafening. "Stay focused," Sarah urged. "We need to hold them back." But the Krieg were relentless. More ships descended, and their numbers seemed endless. As the battle raged on, Sarah noticed a Krieg commander overseeing the attack from a massive warship high above. He was barking orders, his alien form a stark contrast against the backdrop of fiery explosions. "Jack, can you hit that commander's ship?" Sarah asked, trying to gauge their options. Jack took a deep breath, lining up his shot. "I'll give it my best shot." He pulled the trigger, and the energy bolt flew through the air, striking the Krieg command ship with a brilliant flash. The ship shook, and for a moment, the Krieg forces hesitated. "Good hit," Maya cheered. "But they're regrouping." Just as the Krieg began to return fire, Alex received a call on the comms. "This is Falcon Team. We're ready to strike on your mark." "Now," Sarah shouted. "Let's flank them." Falcon Team, a group of their allies, swooped in from the side, launching their own attack. The Krieg were caught off guard, and the tide of the battle shifted slightly in their favor. It was a momentary victory, but it felt good. "Push forward," Sarah commanded. "We can't let them regain their footing." The team pressed on, firing their weapons with renewed vigor. Sarah felt a sense of camaraderie with her team, each of them working toward the same goal. Together, they were stronger. As the battle continued, Sarah noticed the Krieg commander rallying his forces. He pointed toward her position, and suddenly, a squadron of Krieg warriors charged in her direction. "We need to fall back," she shouted, realizing the danger. "They're coming for us." The team quickly retreated to a more defensible position, but the Krieg pressed forward. The sound of energy weapons fired in rapid succession filled the air as the two forces collided in a fierce skirmish. Maya was frantically typing at her console. If we can just hold them off for a few more minutes, I can deploy the EMP devices. It'll disable their tech. Then we fight." Jack roared, determination etched on his face. "We're not letting them win." With adrenaline pumping through her veins, Sarah led the charge, rallying her team to push back against the encroaching Krieg. They fought valiantly, holding their ground despite overwhelming odds. Just as it seemed the Krieg would break through their defenses, Maya's voice rang clear through the chaos. "EMP devices ready. I'm launching them now." With a flick of a switch, several small drones launched into the air, zipping toward the Krieg ships. They detonated in a brilliant flash, sending waves of energy rippling through the enemy lines. Krieg ships began to falter, their weapons systems failing. "Yes, it's working." Maya cheered, a triumphant grin on her face. Taking advantage of the momentary chaos among the Krieg, Sarah yelled, "Now's our chance. Press the attack." With renewed energy, the team surged forward, pushing back against the Krieg forces. They had come together as a united front, each member fighting for the future of their world. The battle was far from over, but they could feel the tide beginning to turn. As Sarah fought alongside her team, a sense of hope surged within her. They would not go down without a fight, and they would show the Krieg that Earth was worth defending at all costs.